Hello dear students, as you all know we are doing chapter number 9 ray optics, and till now we have done 4 part of the chapter. We have done reflection. Now from today onwards we will continue with refraction of light. So first of all let us know what is refraction of light, then after we'll move ahead. Okay, our topic is refraction of light. What is refraction of light? So it is said that when a ray of light passes from one medium to another medium, it bends from its path, it deviates from its path, and this phenomena is called refraction of light. Why this happens? It happens because this medium and this medium has different speed of light. Okay, say this angle at a point of incidence or normal is drawn, so this angle is called angle of incidence and this angle is called angle of refraction. Okay, obviously that angle of incidence and angle of refraction, they are not going to be equal. When a ray of light moves from rarer medium to denser medium, the light bent towards the normal. Just see, this is the original path of light and it is bending towards the normal. But when a ray of light passes from a denser medium to a rarer medium, then it bends away from the path. Say this is your original path, so it bends away from the normal. Ray of light bending is like this. So in this case the angle of refraction becomes larger than angle of incidence, and in this case angle of refraction is smaller than angle of incidence. So whenever a ray of light goes from rare to denser or denser to rare, it bends from its path, and this phenomena of deviation caused by change in medium is called refraction of light. Okay, now this ray which comes, it is called incident ray. The ray which is refracted in another medium, it is called refracted ray. This angle is called angle of incidence, and this angle is called angle of refraction, or refracted angle is also called. Okay, so this is how the refraction takes place. Okay, what are the things which govern this refraction? What are the laws which govern this refraction of light? So there are some factors we need to know, and those factors are: the first thing, we need to understand what is refractive index of a medium. Refractive index, it is a factor which, you can say, in a manner control the reflection. How much the ray of light is being refracted, it is being controlled by refractive index of the medium. Or in other words, you can say that refractive index of a medium tell us that how much a light is going to be refracted in that, how much a light is going to be bent in that medium. Okay, refractive index of a medium is denoted by mu. I have written mu1 and mu2 here. So it is denoted by mu, and it is given as C upon V. C is the speed of light in the vacuum and V is the speed of light in that particular medium. So refractive index of a medium is defined as C upon V. But when we say refractive index of one medium with respect to second medium, then we write like this: mu1 2, refractive index of 1 with respect to 2, and it is defined as mu1 upon mu2. Not that mu1 is equal to C upon V1 as per this formula, and mu2 is equal to C upon V2. C and C will be cancelled out. So mu1 2 is equal to what? Mu1 upon mu2 is equal to V2 goes in the numerator, so it becomes V2 upon V1. So in other words, that refractive index is actually tell us the ratio of velocities in the medium. If it is refractive index of 1 with respect to 2, it will be 2 upon 1. Is it clear? If refractive index is 1 is to 2, so it will be 1 upon 2. Similarly, if refractive index of second medium with respect to first medium, so it will be like mu 2 upon mu 1, which is going to be v1 upon v2. Okay, is it clear? How that refractive index, you can say, in a manner gives us information. Let us see by an example. We say that refractive index of glass is 1.5. It is found that refractive index of glass is 1.5. So it is equal to what? C upon V. C is the speed of light in the medium. So V is transferred to this side, 1.5 this side. So we are going to have V is equal to C upon 1.5. Or we can write V is equal to 10 upon 15 into C. Or we can write V is equal to 2 by 3 of C. So refractive index of glass is 1.5. What it tells us? It tells us that the speed of light in the glass is actually 2 by 3 times the speed of light in the vacuum. 2/3 of the speed of light in the vacuum. Just put the value of C. C is 3 into 10 to the power 8. So 3 and 3 will be cancelled out and you will be getting 2 into 10 to the power 8. So by getting the value of refractive index, we can have an idea that how much the light is having the speed in that particular medium. Is it clear? So refractive index of a medium gives us idea about the speed of light in that medium. If speed changes, that's why this bending is happening. If its speed doesn't change, the ray of light goes like that only, in a straight line only. If speed changes, that's why the bending is happening. And how much the speed is going to be changed, it will be told by refractive index. Is it clear? So, and suppose if refractive index of one medium with respect to another medium, say this is water, this is glass, again the same thing. Okay, the ratio of speed of light in those mediums. So this is the refractive index, and it is very important to understand what it is and how from here how we can go to the speed of light. If refractive index of a medium is known, we should understand to calculate its speed of light in that medium. Reverse also, if the speed of light in the medium is known, then we should know how to calculate its refractive index. The formula is here only. Okay. Let us come to the unit of this. There is no unit of refractive index because speed upon speed, so unit is cancelled out. So there is no unit. Is it clear? So refractive index is a very important thing we need to understand. Now just go. Now I'm moving ahead, and I'm going to write. I'm going to understand. We are going to understand the laws of refraction. What are laws of refraction? Let us try to understand that. Laws of refractions. There are two laws. The one is, say this is your refraction for an example. So the first law is the ratio of sine of angle of incidence to the sine of angle of refraction for a given pair of media. Suppose that medium remains same. For different values of I, I am going to have different values of R. So sin I and sin R, this is the ratio which may change because for different I there is different R. But as per law, the sin I by sin R for a given pair of medium, as far as the mediums are same, mediums remain same, sin I by sin R is equal to what? It is equal to constant. It is equal to constant. Snell's law tells us that this ratio sin I upon sin R is actually the refractive index of second medium with respect to first medium. Second medium means the medium which contains the refracted ray. First medium means the medium which contains the incident ray. The refractive index of second medium with respect to first medium, or it can be written as mu 2 upon mu 1. This is the Snell's law. And obviously that refractive index remains constant. Now, if it is being cross multiplied, so mu 1 multiplied by sin I is equal to mu2 multiplied by sin r. It can be remembered in this manner also. Mu1 refractive index of the medium, sine of angle, refractive index of the medium, sine of angle. Mu1, whatever the angle is made by the ray of light with the normal, refractive index, whatever the angle is made by the normal. Okay, so it can be remembered in this manner also. And this formula is beneficial when we solve numericals, when there is so much refractions, 2-3 mediums are there. So this formula is being helpful, more helpful. So we are going to use this formula only for numerical purpose. So this was the first law. Second law is what is second law? Second law is same as the second law of reflection. The incident ray, refracted ray and the normal, they lie in a same plane. The incident ray, refracted ray and the normal, they lie in a same plane. Incident ray, refracted ray and normal lie in a same plane. Okay? So this is the second law of refraction. The incident ray, refracted ray and the normal, they lie in a same plane. It is same as it was in the laws of reflection. Okay, so these are the laws of refraction, and now we are going to understand some practical examples where the refraction happens, and then after we'll try to find out the physical parameters whatever involved in those practical applications. Okay, so let us start the next topic, which is refraction at plane surfaces. Refraction at plane surfaces. This is going to be a major heading. Under this heading we are going to understand some examples like refraction through a rectangular glass slab, apparent depth and TIR. There are 3 applications. Let us do the first one. Refraction through a rectangular glass slab. Refraction through a rectangular glass slab. So this is our heading. Let us try to understand. So this is a rectangular glass slab. Okay, this is a rectangular glass slab, and what happens? A ray of light. Let me make it a straight bit. Okay, a ray of light passing from one medium. Suppose it is air. From here it is air, again here it is glass, and it is again air. So a ray of light falling on the first surface, something like this, gets refracted from here. Now the ray of light is moving from air to glass, so it is supposed to be from rarer medium to denser medium. So ray of light bends towards the normal, and then again it is moving from glass to air, means denser to rarer. It will move, bends away from the normal. If we extend this incident ray, what we find that the incident ray and the normal, they are actually, incident ray and the emergent ray, they are parallel to each other. That will prove with mathematically also. No question in that. Let this angle is I and this angle is E. This angle we are going to consider it as small r 1, and let this angle we are going to consider it as I1 or I2. Okay, now we need to prove that E is equal to I, so that we can say that incident ray and the emergent ray, they are parallel to each other. How we are going to prove it? Suppose that air has refractive index mu1, although its refractive index is equal to 1, and the glass has refractive index mu. Okay, let us prove that. Let it be mu2, at the last I'll put mu. Okay, let it be mu2. So for the first surface, what I am going to write? For the first surface, say mu1 sin I is equal to mu2 sin R1, and for the second surface, what I am going to have? Mu2 sin I2 is equal to mu1 sin E. Okay, I hope there is no problem writing the equation. Okay, there is no problem in writing the equation, because as we can see, mu1 sin I, mu2 sin R, mu1 whatever be the angle, mu2 whatever be the angle of sine. Okay, we take sine angles of mu2 sin I2, mu2 sin E. But from small amount of geometry we can understand that this R1 and I2, they are going to be equal. Why is it so? Because this line and this line is going to be parallel to each other. So this angle and this angle is going to be alternate interior angles. Since R1 is equal to I2, and therefore, say this is your equation number 1, this is equation number 2, mu2 sin R1 and mu2 sin I2, they will become equal. From 1 and 2, what we can write? Mu1 sin I is equal to mu1 sin E. So mu1 and mu1 will be cancelled out. Sin I is equal to sin E, and from here we can write I is equal to E. I hope you are able to understand that R1 is equal to I2 because of alternated interior angles, and because of that this mu2 sin R1 and mu2 sin I2, they become equal. If they become equal, then this should also be equal. I have just put them equal. Okay, so this is how we prove that angle of incidence is equal to angle of emergence, and because of that emergent ray and the incident ray, they are parallel to each other. Now what we have to know, that the perpendicular distance between these rays, this perpendicular distance, what this is called? So this is called lateral shift or lateral displacement. The parallel distance between the perpendicular distance between two parallel lines, the incident ray and the emergent ray, it is called lateral shift or lateral displacement. Now we need to find out what is that lateral shift, the value of that lateral shift. Okay, I am removing it. We need to calculate what is that lateral shift. Okay, just let us see. So what now our concern is? Lateral shift. We need to calculate that, right? Okay, just see. Suppose that thickness of the glass slab, this thickness through which the refraction is happening, it is equal to small t. Okay, this is thickness of the glass slab, it is denoted by small t. What I am doing, I am just extending this normal till the last point, till here. Okay, let this point be capital A, let this point be capital B, let this point be C, and let this point be D. What I need to calculate is, I need to calculate CD. CD is R, lateral shift. This angle be R. Earlier it was R1, I have put it R now. Okay, now just try to understand. If I take the triangle ABC, in triangle ABC, just see, in triangle ABC, in front of this R, AB will work as base, AC will serve as a hypotenuse, So if I take cos r, so it will be what? It will be AB upon AC, isn't it? Cos r is going to be what? AB upon AC. Okay, that good. If I calculate AC from here, it will be AB upon cos r, and AB is what? Thickness upon cos r. So let this be equation number 1. Okay, T upon cos r. Let this be equation number 1. This is the value of AC. Okay. AC is equal to AB upon cos r, T upon cos r. That is the value of AC. Now I'm going to take our main triangle. Triangle, just see in triangle ACD, ACD. Okay. If this angle is I, this angle is R, so this angle is going to be what? It is going to be I minus R. Okay. So I'm going to take sine I minus R, which is equal to perpendicular. So in this triangle ACD, perpendicular is this one. So it is going to be CD upon hypotenuse. AC will serve as again as an hypotenuse, so it will be AC. So from here CD will be equal to what? So CD will be equal to AC sine I minus R. So AC, the value of AC is T upon cos R. I am going to put that. So CD is going to be what? T upon cos R into sine I minus R. Now I am going to use a trigonometric relation which expands this sine I minus R, and that relation is, I am going to write here only, sine A minus B, it is equal to sine A cos B minus cos A sine B. So here it is sine I minus R. I am going to expand that accordingly. Okay. So if I expand it, what I am going to have? I am going to have CD is equal to T upon cos R, in bracket sine A cos B. So it will be sine I minus R. So it will be sine I cos R, minus cos A sin B. So it will be cos I sin R. Is it clear? Sin I cos R minus cos I sin R. Now cos R is in division, it is sent inside the bracket. So it will be like CD is equal to T sin I cos R upon cos R. Cos R and cos R will be cancelled out. I am going to have sin I only minus cos I. It will not have no effect, and then again sin R upon cos R, it will become tan R. So tan R, it will be like this, tan R. Let this be equation number 2. Now the thing is, we need to find out the value of tan R and we need to put that value here. How we can? Let us see. If I take the refraction for the first surface, so sin I upon sin R is equal to refractive index of second with respect to first. So it will be mu2 upon mu1. From here, if the value of sin R is need to be calculated, or it can be written as mu2 1. So value of sin R is equal to what? So sin R is transferred this side. It will become sin I upon mu2 1. Now the value of sin R is this. So what will be the value of tan R? Now just see sin R, the trigonometric ratio sin is given by perpendicular upon hypotenuse. Right now this sin I serves as a perpendicular and mu2 1 as hypotenuse. So if I want to calculate the value of tan R, the value of tan R is perpendicular upon hypotenuse. So perpendicular is sin I only. But what is base? Tan R is perpendicular upon base. What is base? It is hypotenuse, it is perpendicular. So base will be what? Base will be under root mu2 1 is square minus sin square I. It was hypotenuse square minus perpendicular square. It will be serving as base. So tan R is going to be sin I upon mu2 1 square minus sin square I. And if I put this value over here in equation number 2, what I am going to have? Now from 2 CD is equal to T in bracket sin I, we have nothing to do with this, cos I, the value of tan R is this one, so it will be sin I upon under root mu to 1 is square minus sin square I. Now what I can do, I can take sin I as common, so CD is equal to what? It will be T sin I in bracket 1 minus cos I upon under root mu to 1 is square minus sin square I. So this will be the value of lateral shift, what we were looking for. Okay, I know this derivation is a bit complicated, bit lengthy, but this is how this geometrical optics is. We need to do such derivations, we need to understand such derivations. They are very important as far as your board examinations are concerned, as far as some competitive examinations are concerned. Okay, now just try to understand one more thing. What can be the maximum value of CD, lateral shift? What can be the maximum lateral shift be produced by a rectangular glass slab? So from here it is clear that CD depends upon T also, CD depends upon I also, CD depends upon mu to 1 also. Okay, let us try to understand. We cannot change thickness of the glass slab meanwhile the experiment, we cannot change mu to 1, but we can change angle of incidence. So for which angle of incidence CD is maximum? Let us try to understand. From here one thing is visible, that when I increases, sin I increases, because of sin I increases, CD also increases. So maximum value of I, what can be the maximum value of I? Angle of incidence. I is the angle of incidence. What can be the maximum value of angle of incidence? It cannot be 90 degree exactly, because at 90 degree what will happen? Ray of light will touch the surface and go, refraction will not take place. So the angle of incidence is always less than 90 degree. How much less, it doesn't matter, but it should be less than 90 degree. So basically the limiting value of I, what is limiting value? I hope you know. Limiting value of I is 90 degree. Limiting value of I is 90 degree, means I can never be 90 degree, it is always going to be less than 90 degree. And if I put I is 90 degree, sin 90 is 1, cos 90 is 0, so the whole becomes 0. So the limiting value of CD will be what? T. Reality is I will always be less than 90 degree, so CD will always be less than T. So basically that lateral shift can never exceed the thickness of the glass slab. Okay, the lateral shift can never exceed thickness of the glass slab, because I can never be 90 degree. So because of that CD can never be equal to T, it is always going to be less than T. Is it clear to everyone? So this is how this whole you can say that derivation goes on. This is how we calculate that lateral shift through a glass slab. Okay. Now suppose if outside medium is air and inside medium is glass, so the refractive index of air is going to be 1, refractive index of glass is going to be mu in that case. So CD in that case will be given as it will be T sin I in bracket 1 minus cos I upon, in case of mu to 1 it will become mu square only, so mu square minus sin square I. So this is the value of lateral shift if outside medium is air. If outside medium is air, because when it is air, so mu to 1 is what? Mu to 1 is mu 2 upon mu 1. So mu 2 is going to be mu. It is glass. Mu 1 is going to be 1. So mu to 1 is equal to mu only. So I have put in place of mu to 1, I have put only mu. Is it clear? So this is how the rectangular glass slab, the topic is done. Okay. This derivation is very important. It can be asked in 3 marks question. how that lateral shift cannot exceed the thickness of the glass slab. Okay, so this is the whole derivation. Just pause it, revise, note down it. If you're not able to understand, try to watch it again to make your concepts clear. If again it is not clear, let me know, we'll discuss on it. Okay, so this is the first example of refraction through a rectangular glass slab, refraction through plane surfaces. Now we are going to discuss, in the next video we are going to discuss apparent depth, and then after TIR. Till TIR I have sent notes also. Okay, after TIR, when I start discussing, I'll put the notes in the WhatsApp group. Okay, so that side by side the notes are also going on. So this is all for the day. Thank you.